I'd like to ask you a question about something you said on your direct examination. I wrote it down because I thought it was interesting. You said that Sydney and I checked that the gun wasn't loaded, right?
Yes.
And you said that Sydney and I both opened the revolver, right?
Yes.
So it's your testimony today that you and Sydney both checked that the revolver was unloaded.
I might be mistaken, but I'm sure that we both opened it.
So it's your testimony today that you both opened the revolver together.
I can't recall exactly who opened it.
You can't recall because actually you opened it, right?
I suppose so.
You don't suppose so. You were the one who opened the revolver, weren't you?
We both had gone to the safe. I don't remember exactly who opened it.
Is it your testimony today that you don't remember who opened it?
I don't remember.
Are you aware that you prepared a deposition for today's case?
Yes.
Are you aware that while you prepared that deposition, you had an obligation to be truthful?
Yes.
And you're aware that you had an obligation to include all relevant information?
Yes.
Permission to approach opposing counsel with witnesses affidavit.
What line were you referring to?
I will be referring to 151. Permission to approach witness with the same. I just handed you that deposition, right? And if you turn to the last page, that's your signature on the bottom, right?
Yes, sir.
And this is a fair and accurate copy of the deposition that you prepared.
Yes, sir.
Please read along with me silently while I read aloud. How did you know that the gun wasn't loaded? Answer, I checked. I opened the cylinder and I made sure the gun was unloaded. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Permission to retrieve the witness's affidavit. So, I'd like to ask you about something that you made for school that year in 2010. So, in 2010, your teacher asked you to draw an adventure story, right? And when your teacher asked you that, you made a drawing called Me and My Gun, right?
Yes, sir.
And you'd recognize that drawing if you saw it in court today, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Permission to approach the witness with what's been constructively marked for identification as Plaintiff Exhibit 1.
Show opposing counsel.
Permission to approach the witness with the same. I just handed you that drawing, right?
Yes.
And it's a fair and accurate copy of the drawing that you made that day.
Yes.
This time, plaintiff will move what's been constructively marked for identification as Plaintiff Exhibit 1 into evidence.
Any objections? No, Your Honor. Shall be admitted.
I'd like to use demonstrative aid to show it to the jury. This is the same drawing you have in your hand, right?
Yes.
So, when you made this drawing and you thought of an adventure story, in 4 of these 6 panels, you're holding a gun, right?
Yes.
And in the last panel, it says, I heart my gun, right?
Yes.
So when you were drawing an adventure story, what you thought of was drawing a picture of me and my gun scaring the bad kids away, right?
Yes. At that time, I was interested in zombies and stuff. And in that picture, I was scaring away the bad kids, and they were zombies.
So just to be clear, in this picture, you're pointing your gun at children, right?
Zombie children, yes.
Okay. Permission to retrieve and tether. Now I'd like to ask you a little bit about the morning of August 18th. You woke up at about 7 a.m. that morning, right?
Yes.
And you'd say that you felt excited.
Yeah.
And at 7:15, before you talked to Sydney Park, before you talked to anyone, you Googled how to load a revolver on your phone. Didn't you?
Yeah, I heard Sydney talking about it before. I just thought I'd look it up.
Is it your testimony today that Sydney Park talked to you about how to load a revolver?
No,
It's not?
no,
So you'd actually say that you looked it up because you thought, you heard that guns can be dangerous if you don't know how to use them, right?
yes,
But you didn't look up gun safety, did you?
no,
You didn't look up how to avoid an accident with a gun?
no, I didn't.
So you're saying that because you were worried that you might cause an accident, instead of looking up how to prevent an accident, you looked up how to load a gun. Is that right?
Yes,
So after that, at approximately 8 o'clock, you sent Sydney a text message, right?
yes,
And in that text message, you said, "I'm so excited, I can't wait to see it. You said combo in 4 emergencies only, right?"
yes, sounds right.
And Sydney didn't reply, "I'm excited too," did she?
No,
Sydney didn't say in response to that she wanted to get the gun too, did she?
no,
What Sydney responded to that was, "Kinda wishing I hadn't told you that."
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay. Response.
Your Honor, "Kinda wishing I hadn't told you that" is a statement of Sydney Park's then existing mental state. As such, it's an exception to the rule against hearsay pursuant to Rule 8033.
Response. Your Honor, Sydney Park's statements are an out-of-court statement and can be used for the truth of the matter asserted. They are not an exception to hearsay.
Yeah, you heard on those grounds?
Yes.
Your Honor, the contents of the statement is, "Kinda wishing I hadn't told you that." That's a statement of Ms. Park's then existing mental or emotional state. Rule 8033 says that that's an exception to hearsay, that even though this is an out-of-court statement, and even though it's not covered by the party opponent rule, it's still allowable because it's a statement about her then existing mental state.
Response. I stand by my argument. I'm going to overrule this time.
So, I'll ask you again. So Sydney didn't reply. What Sydney said to you was, "Kinda wishing I hadn't told you that," right?
yes,
So then you'd say that you went to the parks at about 9 a.m., right?
yeah, sounds about right.
And you'd say that you were alone with Sydney by 9:15, right?
Yeah,
And then you went with Sydney to the safe, and you got the revolver, right?
yeah, we both look the same.
So when you took the revolver out of the safe, you opened up the cylinder, didn't you?
Yes, I made sure it was unloaded.
To make sure it was unloaded, you opened the cylinder and you looked at it, right?
Yes, there were no bullets in it.
And you'd say that a revolver is a kind of gun where ammunition is stored in the cylinder, wouldn't you?
Yes,
So after that, later on, when you were playing roulette, you picked up the gun off the table again, right?
after Sydney passed it to me.
When you picked it up, you thought that it felt different, didn't you?
Yeah,
So you picked it up, you thought that it felt different, and you opened the cylinder again, didn't you?
I thought it felt different because I thought maybe I was nervous, and that's why.
I didn't ask you if you were nervous, I asked you if you opened the cylinder. You picked it up and you opened the cylinder again, didn't you?
I did open it,
Then you closed the cylinder, right?
yes,
You spun it, right?
yes.
And you still didn't notice that it was loaded.
No, I was looking at Sydney to make sure I was doing it right.
Redirecting you to my question, you opened and closed the cylinder, and at no point during that time did you notice you were holding a loaded gun.
Correct.
And then after that, you took the gun and you pointed it at Sydney's head, right?
Objection to the motion of the opposing counsel.
Your Honor, I asked opposing counsel to clarify what rule of evidence she's objecting under.
403, it is substantially more prejudicial than probative to be holding your hand in such a manner.
Your Honor, I'm unclear why the jury would be prejudiced by a motion resembling a gun.
May I respond? It inflames the emotion of the members of the jury. Response?
Your Honor, this isn't substantially more prejudicial than probative. This is demonstrating the way that Ms. Duran said that she was acting at the time. This is precisely what she's telling us she did. If it inflames the passions of the jury to see that, then it must have done the same when she testified to it a moment ago.
He cannot demonstrate for the witness what she was doing on that day, and therefore it's inadmissible. I'm going to sustain the judgment.
Re-asking the question. He took the gun that he didn't notice was loaded and he pointed it at Sidney Park's head, right?
Yes, like she did to me.
And then he pulled the trigger.
Yeah, but I didn't think it was loaded.
And then he pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
No further questions this time, Your Honor. May I deconstruct the demonstrative?